This is Aiden Wolf. Welcome back to Dark Corner Studios. Today we're looking at 5 ways that you can get downloads on your podcast. Now, I know it. You've seen all the questions on the podcast Facebook group. The question always comes up. How do I get people to download my podcast? And usually the response to this question is almost demeaning. A lot of guys will just say content. You need better content. But they never really respond with what? Like, how do you make better content? What am I doing wrong? It's not a place you can get air checked for your podcast. You can't find a professional to listen to it and say, well, here's your issue, because that costs money. And if you're like any of the million other podcasters out there, you're probably not making money yet. You need downloads first to make money, right? How do you get those downloads? How do you create content that is good enough for you to actually get people to come back and download all of your episodes? Let's get down to it. Number 1, never be boring. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means avoiding the small talk. Have you ever tuned into a podcast and this is what you heard? How you doing, man? Doing okay. You? Not too bad. Pretty good. That's the exact kind of crap that people don't want to hear. There have been a ton of studies done on this thanks to radio. The average person can sit through 7 seconds of trash before they decide to turn you off. You have 7 seconds to grab somebody and make them interested in your content. In those 7 seconds, are you literally going to sit there and going to ask your buddy, how you doing, bud? No. Nobody cares. That's you being boring. Also, if your interest in the subject isn't there, if you really don't care about the subject at hand, you're not going to study it, you're not going to research it, and it's really going to show. Make sure what you're talking about is something that you care about. And if you care about, you will never be boring. And finally, ask, does the listener care? That really matters. Because if you don't think the listener cares, or if you don't care, no one's going to care and it's going to suck. Number 2, don't be fake. Okay, as soon as you're fake, we all know it. As soon as you come across as somebody that's trying to be interested in something that you're really not interested in, or maybe you're laughing at something just to try to get the laugh going, as soon as your personality becomes fake, everybody sees it. It's really hard to watch and it gets really cringy. If you're going to make people cringe, that's the first thing that's going to make somebody reach in and just hit that button and turn you off. Also, don't try to emulate someone else. I know you got your favorite podcaster, if you got your favorite YouTube personality that you kind of want to come across as because, well, they're successful. You can't do that. As long as you're trying to be someone else, it's going to be plainly obvious. You need to be you. You need to walk into that room and let your personality shine through. You may not be Robin Williams on stage, but as long as you're prepared, you're researched, and you are not a 2x4 personality, you will be fine. Just try to be yourself and let it out. Have a little bit of fun with it. Also, and this is a big one, don't be wishy-washy. Stand by your opinion and stand on it firm. Don't be swayed by it. You lose respect for somebody that's constantly willing to change their opinion to suit everyone else's. Be that jerk. Be the person that stands up and says, no, that's okay. You can do that because you know what? This is your podcast. Number 3, know your role. For the love of God, there's 2 types of people out there. People that are funny and people that have a sense of humor. Technically, there's a third person out there. They're the people that don't laugh at anything and they just seem to be on their own world of, senses of humor. But if you're one of those 2 people, if you're funny, you should know it. If you have a sense of humor, you should know that as well. Funny people are naturally funny. They have people that gravitate to them at a party. They're the kind of people that you love to listen to because they're always going to say something. They're always going to have that little quip at the end, and they seem to be quick with it. They don't have to think. They don't leave the party going, oh yeah, that's what I should have said. They're never going to do that. They are just on all the time. Now, if you're not that person, don't try to be. It's awkward, and you really kind of fall into number 3 when you try to do this. You sound fake. Don't be that person. Just fall into the person that has a sense of humor. That doesn't mean you can't tell jokes from time to time. Everyone has the capability of being funny. Just don't try to be the funny guy if you're not the funny guy. Also, along with this one is stop with one-upmanship. If someone has something that's really funny, let it breathe. As soon as you try to one-up a joke, you're taking away from the initial funniness that was a joke. If you're laughing, that means your audience is laughing as well. Don't step on that. I get it. Sometimes you just want to be the funniest person in the room, especially when you have two funny people on the same podcast. It happens to everybody. You don't need to, though. You'll get your chance. You'll have your joke, but let jokes breathe. If all of you are sitting around a table laughing your butts off, guess what the listener's doing? And you want that. There is no pride, there is no ego in having a podcast. Your only job is to be funny and to be fun. That's all you got to do. So let it breathe. Number 4, and I can't stress this one enough, do your prep. You need to go in well rehearsed. You can't just sit down on a chair and go, let's wing it. I hate to say this, but you're not a professional. This is why you're working in a podcast and not some sort of other broadcasting company. You need time to be able to get used to whether you're interviewing, whether you're having fun with your buddies. Have something prepped. Know what you're talking about. That means you will avoid the small talk. You will avoid the ums and the ahs, hopefully, and you will avoid all those awkward situations where you're not exactly sure where to go next. This is also helpful when you are editing your own podcast. It can be painful if you're cutting 2 hours of content down to 1 hour because literally there's an hour of crap in there because you couldn't decide what to talk about next. You're wasting your time. Just do a little bit of prep. That's all you got to do. Write down what you want to talk about in order of what you want to talk about. And then it will actually go pretty smoothly. And you'll probably find once you're not searching for the next thing to talk about, you're going to find yourself open for a lot more stuff, including funny, including informative, all the stuff that makes for a great podcast. Every single subject you bring up, be fluent in it. Don't bring something up that you kind of know, and do not lie. When you genuinely know what you're talking about, you gain trust from people. And if people feel as though, well, this guy's an authority, you instantly have credibility in other people's eyes. And that's what people want. No one wants somebody that thinks they know what's going on or thinks that, yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, sure, why not? And if you are part of an interview type podcast, which is a good portion of them, make sure you know exactly what the person is going to say after you ask the question, or at least 80% of it. Know your subject. Don't be surprised by any answers, because when you're thrown off in the middle of an interview and you're looking down, so it's garbage. Nobody wants to hear that kind of crap. They want to hear you. Watch Barbara Walters. That's probably the best thing I can say. She knows everything going into that interview. She's just getting you to tell the story and guiding you with each question. Learn how to do that, and you will be a masterful interviewer. Number 5, the most important one. You cannot get by without this. You have 2 jobs. You need to do one of 2, or preferably both. You have to inform or you have to entertain. If you're doing neither, what are you doing? But if you can do both of these, you will be golden. You will grow as a podcast. And I think, kind of finishing this off, there's only one other thing that you need to be able to do, and that's stay the course. Every podcast grows slow. Great podcasts will grow faster. You will not become an overnight sensation. But as long as you're not in this for the money, you will do well. And then the money will come. But you know what? If you have more questions and you kind of want to know something more about what you can do to make great content, hit me up in the comments below. I'd love to see what you have to say. And you know what? If I can answer some of those questions, I'll be happy to. I'll do up a video based on some of the comments below. Other than that, go out there and make some great material. Do whatever you got to do to really nail your podcast down. Have a great week. I'll see you in the next video.
This is Aiden Wolf.